So I'm sorry for the interruption there, but I did want to point that out.
You know what I mean. Yeah, please make fun of it all you want. But do you want me to go ahead and preface this? This is when Derek was down at the Capitol. They were at the meeting. I'm going to throw it up here on the big screen here behind Derek, and I'm going to throw it up in that corner as to play it behind your right side there, Derek.
This is in the way again.
Yeah, this is at the very end. This is State versus Key, aggravated child molestation, enticing a child for sexual purposes, and transmitting sexually explicit material to a child who is under the age of 16. This case has been around for over almost 10 years, but 9.8 years, with 44 total continuances. This, to me, is, with everything else that's going on, the money, the power, and everything else, this is what I find more reprehensible than all of it. And maybe, Derek, you can out-reprehensible with him later, but do you want to say anything before I play this piece?
Yeah, I want to say this. This alone should be enough.
Yeah.
Right. This alone. This one alone should be enough for because anyone who sees what you're about to see that hasn't seen it already, anyone who has seen it, and let's preface this. Listen, the guy is innocent till proven guilty. And
sure.
I'm not interested. We're railing against the abuse of the system, and I don't want to now abuse it a different way. I don't. This guy is, but this is a solid case.
Yeah.
This is enough. The 1,080 others should not be necessary. This, and by the way, that's Marine math and not even close. but the 1,050 others should not even be necessary. This is yes.
This is one of those where, with kids, I think most of us feel the same way, is when you mess with kids and they are denied justice for whatever reason. There's a come to Jesus moment. I want you guys to take a listen to this.
I looked very close at the State versus Key. I looked very close at Ralston's actions in this case and regarding his client. I looked very, very closely. And while most people who are familiar with Ralston's use of legislative leave and the recent reports of it are already familiar with this case, there are a few important details to it that have not been generally circulated. As a matter of background, Ralston's client was indicted in 2009 by Gilmer County for transmitting sexually explicit material to a juvenile under the age of 16 and enticing a child for sexual purposes also under the age of 16. Cherokee County also indicted Ralston's client, charging him with aggravated child molestation. Ralston's client was 29 at the time, the victim, both of which being under 16. In all, I identified a total of 44 legislative leave continuances that Ralston applied to his client's two cases. As many as 33 of those continuances appear to be out of session. In September of 2010, after his case was continued for legislative leave 4 times, Ralston's client was rearrested after being observed hanging out at a middle school football game. He was granted a new bond with the instruction that he would avoid any area where minors congregate. In December of 2012, his client traveled to Haiti and per online post, worked with children while on a Christian mission trip. Numerous photographs of Ralston's clients with children in Haiti were observed. By this time, Ralston had issued 18 total continuances on this case. As I said earlier, I'm not a legal expert, but I believe most of us would assume that his client would need permission from the courts to leave the country and that he was still under order of the court to not spend time in areas where children congregate. On December 19th of 2012, while in Haiti, Ralston's client was involved in a bad auto accident. 3 days later, the Gilmer Times-Courier reported online that, quote, after getting the U.S. Embassy and state legislators involved, including House Speaker David Ralston, Derek Key arrived back in the States by Learjet this morning from the Dominican Republic, unquote. This is in the newspaper. Well, after 28 continuances to his aggravated child molestation cases and over 6 years after indictments were issued, Cherokee County dropped their case 14 months later. Ralston's client was back in Haiti in 2014 and pictured yet again with teenage boys. I highlight this case for 3 reasons. Number 1, the sheer volume of continuances in such an important criminal matter is simply staggering. Secondly, to illustrate that individuals charged with serious crimes whose cases are indefinitely delayed are able to conduct themselves in public in a manner that may not be in the best interest of public safety. And finally, given the extraordinary way in which Key has benefited from being a client of the speakers, I highlight this case in the hopes that the media and other appropriate agencies will look deeper into the nature of Ralston's relationship with his client and perhaps determine whose jet was used, who paid for it, and any other questions emanating from this event. I want to conclude by returning to my motivation for conducting this exhaustive review of Speaker Ralston's use of legislative leave. This is not now, nor has it ever been, about politics for me. It's about accountability. It's about transparency. And it's about truth. It's about standing firmly and courageously in defense not only of victims' rights, but in defense of what is moral and what is ethical. I will close by reminding us all that great leaders use their power not to delay justice, they use their power to expedite justice. The people of Georgia deserve nothing less than that. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I've listened to that one before, and I'm still flabbergasted. And Derek's right. It doesn't matter who the person is. The key in this case, it's what has been allowed, and what can happen, what has happened. So it's not even what can happen; it's what has happened.
This is why I'm a bull, man. This is why people perceive me as one of those guys that is maybe a little too passionate, maybe crazy. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. But this, when I don't have representatives at least saying, look at this. We are investigating. We are taking a look at this. There are things going on behind the scenes that I cannot reveal right now, but we are looking at this. Give me an update every week. I need to know one way or another that you're still involved with this right here.
Yeah. Or at least be timely responsive. I think that's the
level. The bare minimum for me. Outside of that, I'd like to see a lot more guys coming out and just saying this is wholly unacceptable, and we're going to do everything we can to make this right.
You know, and I appreciate you sharing that because I haven't watched much of this. So much coverage came out, and it was amazing. But I didn't watch much of it because I was there.
Yeah,
but
I know what you said.
I was there. I know what I said.
Yeah, I don't listen to the podcast.
You probably know this. So I mean, you're almost choked to the gills with it.
But you know, we can talk about that conference in a minute because it's a pretty surreal experience. And what cut off there is the applause at the end of it, which was really neat.
Yeah, and sorry about that. I didn't know if you wanted to listen to it, but yeah, they actually, you had a room full of press and imagine a few other people, but I think from what I was told that the representatives were told that they will not go to this press conference. Is that correct? Do you know?
I don't know. I know it was David and I.
Yeah.
Right.
But
during that whole time, one of the victims was the only one that I knew was sitting up front. And as I was delivering all of this, and I want to come back to the key case, but she was right there, and she's wiping tears throughout the whole thing, right? And you realize, like, these are real people.
Yeah.
And this is what pisses me off because how are you not outraged by this? Why? And here's the thing. Say, here, if I'm an elected individual, say, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll tell you what, I'm horrified by, who's not horrified by this? And that's the part where, and I will tell you, I've talked to a lot of lawmakers, and there's some people that right now that are doing all the right things, and I want to say that, and there's certain things you just can't do right now. You can't make a spectacle of what you're doing. There's no reason to go past that because you know how pragmatic I am about these things. But I'll tell you what, there will be, when this is all done and said, there will be people who were elected by Georgians who will not take exception with that.
Yep.
And here's where I will come over to the Shane Hazel school of courtesy. Those people, when this is done and said, that do not, hey, listen, fine, say I don't want to remove the speaker, whatever, but come out and say that you're absolutely, unequivocally, without question, horrified by this. Otherwise, I got some pretty deep pockets. I got plenty of time, and you think that this is the only thing out there? No one has seen me really focused yet, right? And there's a lot more out there like me, and I think at this point that people should brace themselves for their representatives to not have done the right thing and be prepared. And by the way, I'll tell you too.
And we're there. You are on the cusp of the next election now.
Yeah.
If they're not laying tracks and plans for replacing some of these people, you're too late.
Yeah. And it's what's interesting too is there are national players that have reached out to me that said, we see what you're doing and we're going to help replace some of these people.